Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Brighton Town Board. It's November 13th, 2024, and I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and I'm calling this meeting to order. In just a minute, we will begin the open forum portion of our meeting shortly after a couple of presentations. The open forum is that portion of the meeting when members of the public have the opportunity to share their comments with the town board. I will give more detailed instructions on open forum when we get to that point on the agenda, but I will note that if you are watching the meeting remotely, you will have to log into Zoom in order to speak during the open forum tonight. You may be watching us on YouTube, but you'll have to log into Zoom if you do want to participate remotely in the open forum. As we have done for many years, we make all of our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters. Tonight, our interpreters are Samantha Geffen and Jennifer Horak. Samantha and Jennifer, thank you both very much for being with us. As a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, if you're here in the room, is on the back table. If you are, again, watching us remotely, they are all on the town's webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. That has the agenda, as well as the other materials we will be relying on in making our decisions tonight. I will ask, if you're able to, please rise in spirit. If you're not, I'll ask Councilmember Warner if you'd lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. November is Native American Heritage Month. Everyone familiar with the history of this region, particularly the history of Brighton, is very much aware of how important the history of the indigenous people that lived here before there were Europeans on this continent, how important they are to our local heritage, but also to the very democratic constitutional principles that our nation is founded on. So celebrating Native American Heritage Month is something I think is very important, just as celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day was last month. And we have this proclamation to make that observance. Whereas the roots of Native American Heritage Month can be traced back to this region, as an early proponent of the creation of what he then called, quote, American Indian Day, was Dr. Arthur C. Parker, a member of the Seneca Nation, or the Haudenosaunee, who was the New York State archaeologist and later director of the Rochester Museum and Science Center. Whereas this year, the theme of Native American Heritage Month is weaving together our past, present, and future, which underscores the importance of the local annual commemoration of the signing of the Canandaigua Treaty, the longest valid treaty between the United States and Native Americans. And whereas we are committed to honoring, celebrating, and elevating indigenous peoples and cultures by sharing the long and rich history of Native Americans, including that of the Haudenosaunee, whose governance model of participatory democracy is the basis for our present-day democracy. Now, therefore, I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and members of our Town Council, do hereby proclaim November as Native American Heritage Month in the town of Brighton, and ask our residents to learn about and celebrate the richness of Native American heritage here in the town of Brighton and in the greater Rochester area. And this proclamation has been signed this 13th day of November, 2024, by myself and by the members of the Brighton Town Board. We will display this proclamation. We have one more presentation tonight. And speaking of history, and speaking of the history of this region, those of you that are members of Historic Brighton and read the newsletter that they put out, when, by the way, the newsletter is worth more than the price of your donation to keep Historic Brighton alive. But you've read, no doubt, the economic histories of the town of Brighton that have been written by Ray Tierney, former Councilman Ray Tierney. And Ray, I'm going to invite you and Sandy Frankel, Neil Frankel, and our town historian, Mary Jo Lanfear.
Thank you, Bill.
We're going to talk about art tonight, and we're going to talk about one of the great historians of our community, the late Leo Dodd and Leo's family. And Ray, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bill. Council members, are you comfortable? Your last time here, okay, for a year and a half or so?
Yeah.
Okay. Staff, the backbone of the town. Thanks for giving me a couple of minutes, giving us a couple of minutes. I was here a couple of months ago, and I announced an endeavor where the town of Brighton was in receipt of how many, Mary Jo? Probably 10 or 12?
About 12.
12 of Leo Dodd's, full disclosure, my uncle, Leo Dodd's paintings, which depict many of the early days of the town. And so talking to Mary Jo, this was maybe a year ago or more, they were down in her office, and I said, well, what are we going to do with them? And she goes, well, she says, you know, and it was one of those things where, you know, you got a lot of important things, okay? So that's why I'm glad that all of us were here to take one of those things off your plate, because we decided to go and raise some money, donate, whatever you say, it's so that we can take them, and I've got one of them here. I've got one of them here. The other 7 are over at the Buckland House. And next month, on the 5th of December, which is a Thursday at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a brief ceremony where we're going to unveil, probably isn't the right word.
Have an opening.
Well, I have an opening of these pieces that are going to hang in the Buckland House. And I must say that I presented a letter for you to sort of announce this, and I don't think I was able to capture really what I was trying to say about Leo Dodd and what he really meant. He meant a lot to me as my uncle and my neighbor, but he really meant a lot to the town. He was involved for many, many years in many and different and varied committees. But most of all, he was a roll up your sleeves. He did a dig over at one of the farthest house down going towards Westfall Road, the one that's still there. What's
the Coleman property?
The Coleman property. And I mean, he did all kinds of things when the Buckland House was in the throes of preservation. And he was always on me, and then I was on Sandy. That we've got it
on me.
Yeah. And so we put some money in the budget. We at least got it fixed in the budget, and then Sandy went to work, and she got people like Joe Robach and Joe Morelli, and Bill went and got Rotary, and it was a big
community
undertaking. So anyways, this one does really say a lot because it's about our brick making past. Bill said that I write articles about merchants of Monroe. Well, these are really, they're first merchants. I haven't done that one yet. But anyways, I've gone on, but I'm just happy that it's that we're going to be able to do it and celebrate, and especially get it or those paintings that the Dodd family was gracious enough to donate to the town several years ago. Get them someplace so that they can be up on the wall and the community can enjoy them. Anybody else want to? I'm sucking the air out of the room. I know how to do that, you know. I had a lot of practice.
For those of you who are not familiar with a little charming booklet called The Bricks of Brighton, that was created by Leo Dodd, and it gives the history of the early brick-making industry that was at the heart of our town, right in the 12 Corners area, and provided the bricks that you see on so many of the historic buildings, not just in the Brighton we know today, but in Rochester and other areas, because Brighton was, in the earliest days, geographically, all the way over to the east side of the Genesee River, and it encompassed some of the suburban towns that we now have today. So it's a really lovely, charming, illustrated book by Leo. He was so active with Historic Brighton and with the kinds of activities that Ray has described, and he really was a treasure of this community, and we appreciate all that he did. And thank you for your continuing support of Historic Brighton and of continuing the legacy that we treasure here.
Mary Jo, do you want to? Well, Ray, thank you for this initiative. Sandy and Neil, thank you so much. This is special. Leo was special, and the opportunity to memorialize Leo and one small part of his vast body of work is really wonderful. I do want to read the names of the donors, and then we will include this letter in the record of tonight's meeting. It's a letter from Ray Tierney III, dated today's date. I'll just read it so you all can hear. Honorable Brighton Town Council, to facilitate the display of Leo Dodd's paintings in the Buckland House, the following donors underwrote the mounting and framing of 8 of those works: Amy and Howard Enos, Sandra and Neil Frankel, Sherry and Eugene Krause, Mary Jo Lanphier, Bill and Barbara Maley, Ray and Ida Lee Tierney, and Arlene and Derek Vanderlyn. These paintings were donated to the town by the Dodd family in recognition of their father's contributions to the town of Brighton. His efforts to preserve Brighton's rich heritage are personified by the Buckland House. He was very active in the effort to preserve the structure that is a focal point of the town's brick-making past. Many of his efforts are documented through his many years serving as president and board member of Historic Brighton. Those contributions can be reviewed by accessing historicbrighton.org. A brief ceremony celebrating this display will take place Thursday, December 5th at 6 p.m. at the Buckland House, and the public is welcome to attend. And you know, Ray or Sandy, I can't remember which one of you was talking about this, but just this past Veterans Day, we were in the Buckland House after our Veterans Day ceremony because it was cold and it was raining outside, and Mary Jo was good enough to have refreshments. And someone asked you, Mary Jo, were the bricks taken by canal throughout the region? And it was the first time I've ever heard Mary Jo not be able to give an absolute definitive answer about anything about Brighton history. But in answering the question, you did note that those bricks were used not just in Brighton and not even just in the Rochester area, but because Brighton was such a significant brick-making center, they were transported to across the lake and to other parts of the state. So you answered the question pretty darn well. So in any event, again, thank you all. And I look forward to the ceremony on the 5th.
You don't mind with all the fuss and muss and in this place that I think that.
Safe
Good
with
call,
you.
Ray. Yeah. Thanks.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Bill.
And with the addition of this item of communication dated November 13th from Ray Tierney III.
And check for other call-ins at an open forum or?
Second?
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. I am skipping ahead on the open forum here. Thank you, Chris. I was so excited to get that item of communication. We will get your letter in, Ray. But now we will move to the open forum portion of our meeting. And of course, the open forum is that opportunity for members of the public to come and address the town board about matters that, you know, are important to them. If you're here in the audience and would like to speak during the open forum, you can do so. Please come up to the podium. We'll ask you to state your name. If you are participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the open forum, again, as I mentioned, you will have to first join the meeting on Zoom. And if you do that, you'll be admitted to the meeting from the Zoom waiting room by our meeting Zoom host. I do ask all speakers during the open forum, whether you're speaking in person or remotely, to please state your name before you do speak. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and I will give a 30-second warning before time expires. If you have questions, we may or we may not be able to answer them this evening, particularly if a question relates to a matter that's not on tonight's agenda. But really our goal here during the open forum tonight and at all of our town board meetings is to give members of the public the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully and for everyone here in the room to be able to listen thoughtfully. Therefore, please direct your remarks during the open forum to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or similar disruption during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody here this evening. Speaking of respect, out of respect for people who are maybe in the back of the room and trying to see, we do not allow signs to be displayed during the town board meetings, including during the open forum. Persons who do not follow these rules of conduct during the open forum will be warned. Repeated failure to follow the rules or repeated failure to follow other directions from the chair may result in your speaking privileges being ended early, being directed to leave the meeting, or the early termination of the open forum in general. So with that, is there anybody here in the room that would like to speak tonight during our open forum? Please, come on up. And again, if you would, please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Erler Perry, and I live at 3194 Elmwood Avenue. Good to see you all this evening. I just had a quick question. I know paving occurred on Elmwood Avenue from 12 Corners down this way last year, year before that. I was just wondering if it was going down the other direction of Elmwood Avenue, from 12 Corners to 590 and 590
And
down
beyond.
to Clover.
Elmwood is a county road.
Yep, okay.
So those are plans that the county would have.
So go
They
talk to
have shared with us their capital plan for the next 3 years. I think they do a 3-year plan like ours. And I don't recall seeing plans to repave Elmwood Avenue there, but we can certainly double check.
Sure.
I certainly don't expect, and would really be hard pressed to support any widening of Elmwood Avenue as part of that, but I haven't heard any discussion of that. But maybe this is a good time to talk a little bit about some state paving projects and state highway projects in general, because they will be affecting the town significantly over the next several years. Many people have raised concerns about the condition of the Monroe Avenue and Allens Creek 590 bridges. Currently, the state DOT is finished or finishing design work on, they will be replacing the Monroe Avenue bridges altogether and doing major rehabilitation of the Allens Creek bridges. In 2025, they're going to be doing some preliminary work. And in 26 and 27, they are going to be doing the actual bridge work. One direction one year, one direction the other year. If I recall, the northbound bridges will be taken out during 26 and the southbound in 27. But as I said the other day, there's a 50-50 chance that I'm wrong when I give those directions. There'll be, obviously the highway will be detoured, so the one bridge will stay in place, you know, one direction, and the traffic going the other way will be detoured onto those bridges. We have not yet seen a full detour plan for that project. That project then would be completed, they plan, in 2027. After that, it is the state's plan to repave Monroe Avenue from the Brighton city line up at Highland all the way out to the canal in the village of Pittsford.
Wow.
I'm concerned. We met with them recently. We are in the process of scheduling a follow-up meeting because I was concerned by some of the answers we got. In particular, their intention to do the Pittsford piece of that project from the canal to Clover Street, which is mostly in Pittsford, first in 2028 and not get to the Brighton piece until 2029. And they said something about detours, but they didn't have any maps. They couldn't show me in that meeting why it was they had to do the Pittsford work first. And I honestly don't accept that. The Brighton part of Monroe Avenue is in worse shape than the Pittsford part is. And I want to see them do that work first.
Sure.
So we are scheduling another meeting. There's a few things about that project and about that meeting that I found troubling. Another one is a piece of work that we've been trying to get done for many years, and that is getting a left turn signal on Winton Road where it hits Monroe Avenue. That's a troubling intersection for folks. And again, without providing us any real information, we heard, oh, well, the traffic pattern isn't going to work there. Well, we've heard that for years. And until they can come up with some data, I don't buy that answer. And we're going to work as hard as we can to make sure that that project meets the needs of the community. We're also going to be engaging the community, not only residents, but the business community. The last time Monroe Avenue was repaved, it was very disruptive to the business community. And we want to make sure that they have been included in the process so that you know, our local businesses, which are really so important to the fabric of the community, will be able to survive and thrive following that project. And then, you know, but wait, there's more. And we're going out a long ways now, but the state also plans to reconstruct West Henrietta Road in the town of Brighton. Actually, I believe from the canal down to Jefferson Road, so partly in Henrietta, in 2030. So there's some major, major highway work going on. To the best of my knowledge, though, not on that part of Elmwood. Yeah.
So when did the county put in their capital improvements plan this part of, how many years ago was that?
I don't remember exactly. A couple of years ago, and then there was discussion about the reconfiguration. which was designed to calm traffic. We had a lot of speeding and weaving on Elmwood Avenue. It also is intended to make an arterial like Elmwood less car-centric, because it, of course, involved the addition of the bike lanes. And I would also say, since I'm maybe acting a little cranky tonight, we got a problem on Elmwood Avenue with RTS. They cut back service on the avenue several years ago. They treat, down at that end of the avenue, we have the largest employer in Monroe County, the U of R and the U of R Medical Center. The bus company seems to treat the U of R Medical Center as if it was a 9 to 5 operation. They have a couple of buses in the morning, a couple of buses in the afternoon. But as we all know, employment, visiting, and all of the other elements that make the U of R and the Medical Center so important to the community are a 24/7 operation. And bus service needs to be enhanced. One, because we want to make sure people can get to the U of R, but two, every time we're running buses on the avenue and people are using those buses, we're taking cars off the road, and that improves conditions. So
Sure.
I know that's a long-winded answer, but I don't remember exactly when they first included Elmwood in their capital plan.
Okay. And you said they're 3-year plans?
I think so. I don't know if Ken or anybody else recalls, but they do put out those county's website.
Yes. Yep. I'll take a peek.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to address the board during the open forum? I don't see anybody on our Zoom. So now, Chris, can I have a motion to approve the agenda
Bill, I move to approve the agenda
with the addition of the communication from Ray Tierney III, dated today's date, concerning Leo Dodd's paintings?
with the addition of the communication from Ray Tierney III.
Second?
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. And into those communications, can I have a motion to receive and file a letter dated November 13th, 2024, from Ray Tierney III?
I move that we receive and file the communications.
Second.
Thank you, Ray, for that, and thank you for tonight. Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Next committee reports, Community Services Committee. Robin.
Thank you. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening timeframe since our last town board meeting. I do have a few quick updates from our Parks and Recreation Department heads. From our Parks Department, athletic fields and outdoor restrooms closed for the season on November 1st. This hiatus gives our crews the much-needed opportunity to get the fields repaired, aerated, and seeded to give them the best chance to bounce back in the spring. Work also continues on the perimeter trail to rebuild at Buckland Park. From our Recreations Department, Brighton Farmers Market is ongoing at the Brighton High School parking lot on Sundays 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The last day for the season of the outdoor market will be this Sunday, November 17th, again at the Brighton High School parking lot. And then we will go to the Winter Farmers Market indoor season, which will begin on Sunday, November 24th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That it will be at the Winter Farmers Market Barn at 1341 Westfall Road. We ask no early birds, please. The doors will open promptly at 10 a.m. Our Brighton Fall Program registration is ongoing for fall programs. There's still a lot of great programming to participate in before the end of the year. Full details are available online at the Town of Brighton Recreation website. That is www.townofbrighton.org/rec, R-E-C. We're looking forward to our Veterans Appreciation Luncheon on Friday, December 6th at the Carmen Clark Lodge at Brighton Town Park, 777 Westfall Road. This is the town's 18th annual event. We will offer a free luncheon featuring a delicious warm meal and a chance for the town of Brighton, the Rochester Veterans Association Clinic, and local businesses to honor our brave veterans. We thank Richard and Deborah Wagner for their decades of effort in support of this event that supports our region's veterans who are in need. Then on Saturday, December 7th, we will host live music yoga at the barn at 1435 Westfall Road. That is the Brighton Farmers Market barn. From 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. You can join us for this special event in the newly restored and beautifully built space at the Brighton Barn on Westfall Road. Lynn Boucher will guide you through an open-level, slow-flow practice as you are surrounded by live music and vocals to enhance your experience and connection with yourself and everyone around you. Registration for this event is required because space is limited. Our Family Fun Friday series of events will continue with Family Bingo in Your Jammies. That will take place at the Brookside Community Center, 1666 Winton Road South, on Friday, December 13th. The cost is $10 per family. You can get cozy with the family for a fun night of winter bingo. We'll serve fresh popcorn, and there will be an opportunity to win prizes throughout the evening. Registration again is required as space is limited to ensure the best event for our families. Our Recreation Department wants to remind families that December Recess Camp is currently taking registration. Space is limited. You can register today to secure your spot. Camp is available during select days of the December break week from school. Recess camps include games, sports, crafts, and special events. We also go outside as much as possible to get some fresh air. Full details and registration is available online. This is targeted for children in 1st through 5th grade. Again, registration is required as space is limited. Want to remind everyone that our Brighton Seniors Lunches Out and About are still taking place. You can check out our monthly calendar and join us for lunch out and about in the community. The locations change, but we always have a good time with friends enjoying food and sometimes lively entertainment. Full details are available online, and you may sign up for our monthly newsletter to stay up to date with all the fun things that are happening with the Brighton seniors. Full details on all Brighton Recreation and Brighton Senior offerings are available online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. I wanted to give a brief update on our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event that took place on Sunday, October 27th. We managed to get 15 full pallets, which equated to 9,267 pounds of electronics that we kept out of our waste stream, including laptops and desktop computers, CRT and flat panel monitors, tablets, UPS devices, alkaline, lead, acid, lithium-ion, and nickel-cadmium batteries, incandescent, fluorescent, and other light bulbs. So thank you so much for participating. And I went through that exhaustive list just so people are reminded of all the things that you can bring to these recycling events. People don't realize you can bring your batteries. You can bring your bulbs. So please do think about us and keep those electronics out of our waste stream.
That's almost 5 tons.
Yeah. Very impressive. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be next Wednesday, November 20th at 9:30 a.m. or immediately following our Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brighton Recreation Center Multipurpose Room. Please do access the Recreation Department through the Winton Road entrance, and as always, members of the public are encouraged and invited to attend.
Thank you, Robin. Next, Finance. Nate.
Thanks, Bill. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on November 6th, and we had a lot of work to do, so bear with me as I read my chicken scratch handwriting. We approved a handful of everything. Most of what we talked about is on the agenda tonight, but I'm just going to explain a couple items that we made small changes on. Most of what we approved was healthcare benefits and other items related to the budget. The two small changes I referenced, the first was we extended dental coverage up to 23 years old, which made sense as far as, I believe, Bill, help me out here, the age previously was...
Either 18 or 19,
Thank you.
and to
Yeah,
go
that's what it
past
was.
that, you had to be a student.
That's what it was.
And
It was student.
we
thank you.
eliminated that student requirement.
To put the burden on our staff to figure out who was a student, who was a student, it didn't make sense. So we're gonna cover up to the age of 23, dependents up to the age of 23. The second small change we made was an update to our health declination policy. So previously there was a number that was set where we needed at least 10 people to decline in order to receive the incentive payment. We did away with that number. There was just too much uncertainty when you're making that healthcare choice for you and your family. So we did away with that minimum number. And again, those two decisions, along with the other items that we approved here, are so we supply more information to our staff so that they can make the best choice they can for their own family, and they can have all the information at their hands. So I want to say that Tricia and our Human Resources Department does a great job of explaining this all to everybody. I know that Earl and Marshall actually were over at the Highway Department explaining to the staff over there as well. So I want to give kudos to our Finance and Administrative Services Department, and also our Human Resources Department for doing everything they can to explain these decisions for our staff. And our next meeting will actually be at Empire State at our new location, and that will be on November 20th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you, Nate. Public Safety Committee. Chris.
Thanks, Bill. I'll have to report on yesterday's meeting without the benefit of our written notes, which have been delayed in the chaos of our move. But from speaking from memory, I'll hit the highlights. The first issue that was discussed at some length was addressed at open forum. A resident came in and shared his concerns, as all of us are concerned about the continued racing, let's call it, out on Route 590. We hear
Not just 590.
and we hear the rumble every night, every warm night, of the motorcycles and cars, and the chief pointed out that it's all across the county. It's a very difficult problem. We have policies against high-speed chases, other than when shots are fired. And even in that instance where that incident did occur coming out of the city, and the city police entered into a chase, it resulted in a fatality. And because of that, we do not give chase of these high-speed vehicles. And it seems to be an intractable problem, but it's still being addressed. It's being addressed by the chief in the countywide meetings that he has with other police forces. But of course, out on 590 per se, that's the responsibility of the sheriff's office and the New York State Police. The supervisor has indicated he will address this issue with the sheriff's department, with correspondence, and hopefully bring someone in from the department to talk about what action can be taken. Beyond that, some of the highlights, the various services all reported on their number of calls year to date. There are no particular calls of note, no fires, and no particular difficult crashes or collisions. The ambulance corps, however, did report that they had an unusual number of new recruits for volunteers coming in, which would really enhance our cadre there. The fire department reported on their calls as well, and also the deputy chief there added his thoughts about the traffic problems out on 590 and the late night racing. The police department reported on their experience as well. Henrietta Fire Department reported on their West Brighton experience. It was noted they've got a new red door and sign, and but one issue that they did mention, and it was also reflected by the Brighton Fire Department as well, the extraordinary lag time involved in the delivery of equipment after order, that it takes over 1 to 3 years for them to receive any piece of large equipment, such as a ladder truck or a pumper, just because of the backup in construction and also the extraordinary increase in cost. The West Brighton representative indicated that he's seen a $100,000 increase in the cost of an engine for a fire truck. And it's largely attributed to the environmental regulations that have been applied to those diesel engines. And also noted that the cause of many breakdowns, again, relates to those, they call it NEF system. But that I had not been aware of. But our next meeting will be December 10th at 0800 at the new meeting place at the Empire State College on Westfall Road.
Thanks, Chris. And Public Works, is someone giving a Public Works Committee report?
And
I'm guessing it's
also for me, again,
All right.
without the benefit of the notes that are usually provided, but the high points in particular. We had an extended meeting. There are a lot of items on that agenda. The folks from Quickleys came in and noted that they're awaiting the town's input, or they've asked for the town's input, excuse me, on the selection of public art, which will be out at the corner of Monroe and Elmwood. That's part of our approval of that incentive zoning application. And we're excited to look at what the alternatives might be, and we're going to be forming a committee of local art notables and other folks for their input as well. We're looking forward to that. We also had a follow-up discussion and presentation regarding the hometown hero banners proposed along Elmwood Avenue or elsewhere in town, and saw a sample and talked about the relative costs and how folks will be able to subscribe for a banner to honor, and we're as yet looking at the criteria, but certainly for currently serving members of the military and perhaps as memorial items as well. And so we're looking forward to that. We discussed traffic issues, had continued our discussion of traffic issues on Hemingway Drive, which is a cut-through street, and there are several other streets along that stretch between Highland and Elmwood that are of concern to us, but need to be treated in a similar fashion. So we're looking at those issues as well. We got an update on the town hall renovation project. The move is Friday, and we will be closed for business here tomorrow and Friday while we make the move to our temporary quarters over at the Empire State College as the renovation then follows. We had some updates or some discussion of the New York State Department of Transportation projects, the Monroe Avenue corridor improvements, which would first appear to be focused, as the supervisor has mentioned, on the Pittsford side of Monroe Avenue, and then our side following. Also, discussion was had regarding the I-590 bridges over Monroe Avenue and Allen's Creek, which looks like it's going to be pushed out into 2006, 7, and 8, if not 2009 as well. There was also discussion of West Henrietta Road corridor improvements as well. We discussed repainting of Elmwood Avenue and South Winton Road on the highway there, which is a Monroe County project. And we had various town project updates regarding the Multiversity Trail project, and we're talking about our difficulty in engaging the student representatives for their input on that Multiversity project, which is a terrific connection of the 3 large campuses here in Brighton and into the city with the U of R. The Complete Streets policy has been submitted to the Sustainability Committee, and they have no further comments, it appears. Is that correct, Robin?
Yes.
And that it's ready to go be submitted to the town board as well. Bike Boulevard status was reported on, and we saw the new signs, very large signs that designate certain of our streets for a boulevard status to bring folks around town. And the beginning and ending point, Bill, can you refresh me here?
It's from the farmer's market, from Westfall up to...
Very well, because it goes from my neighborhood to Town Hall. But we've got some great new signs, and that will designate those roadways. We also rejoiced in the East Avenue sidewalk that's now been completed from Knollwood up to Allen's Creek School. It was a major bit of work done on an express basis with a lot of effort, with lobbying from the town government here and the supervisor's office. And I hope folks have noted it. And now it connects all from Allen's Creek School and essentially Elmwood Avenue there, all the way into the village of Pittsburgh on a sidewalk. That's terrific. We also discussed the Chelmsford Lane culvert replacement project and how we might reach a decision on what the roadway configuration will be. 2-way, 1-way, and if 1-way, in which direction. And how we're going to address the neighborhood's wishes on that. And also, we discussed the grant program from the Monroe County regarding new sidewalks, and our thought of getting as many applications as we could to get as many sidewalks funded by the county as we could, but also noting that we've got to get going on that construction, and it may be quite difficult to build that many sidewalks or to make use of these grant funds before the costs of sidewalks go up, because the grants will be at a fixed price when granted. And
50% of the cost.
I'm sorry, 50% of the cost. Thanks, Bill. Half the cost, and we want to get those sidewalks in place. But of course, we have limitations in our own budget and how to fund that 50%. So it's a fine line we have to tread, but that's one of the major improvements I think that the town government is focusing on, is sidewalks and walkability. And lastly, tree removals. Again, saw, I believe, 3 large trees that will need approval as our tree city gets older and older, but we're replacing them regularly. The meeting concluded with then a recognition of the next meeting date, which is December 10th at 9:00 a.m. following the public safety meeting.
At Empire State University.
At Empire State University.
680 Westfall Road.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Chris.
Wow.
A lot. That was a long meeting. Those were long meetings, long reports, and we have a long agenda tonight. Moving on then to new business. Nate, reading and approval of the claims.
So I'll keep it a little shorter. Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $976,443.18. Just a notable claim includes a payment for a Stanek Consulting Group, payment for a townwide speed reduction study, which is something that we often talk about at public safety. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second?
Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to approve a budget amendment transferring $9,489.09 in granite funds from the Police Department Gifts and Donations account to the Facility Improvements account to fund upgrades to garage storage, carpets, and related items. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion, or Chief, anything you want to say about?
No, we're replacing cabinets out in our Bay 3 in our garage. They're old wooden handmade
they are.
cabinets. And we're putting some new carpet down in a couple of the administrative offices.
Good. Any further comments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to authorize the disposal of 4 Highway Department trucks, those being 2 flatbed and 2 dump trucks, as surplus to be sold via online or in-person auction. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any discussion? These are trucks as old as 2008. One is 2017, but still have gotten a lot of heavy work.
Bless you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Nate, the next matter.
Next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Monroe County to accept American Rescue Plan Act funding in an amount not to exceed $400.
Becky Cotter, our recreation director, is going to be focusing on some of our senior programming needs, probably particularly food-related, which is important not only from a health perspective, but also, as we all know, food becomes a great gathering, a connector. That's the word I was looking for. Thanks, Nate. You know, the foods, if you've ever been to, for example, the Tuesday senior lunches they have, the camaraderie in the room is just wonderful. So more to follow on that, but we were grateful to be receiving over $406,000. We have a motion and a second. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Why don't you do the next one as well, Nate?
Yeah. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into a consulting agreement with Carrie Burdick for training services at an hourly rate of $27, not to exceed 36 hours for a term of October 27th, 2024 to March 1, 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this relates to our assessment-related issues, specifically relating to how we evaluate and treat various exemptions. So, any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. And another assessor matter, Nate?
The next
To do
matter
this one.
Yeah, of course. The next matter seeks to authorize a petty cash and change fund for the assessor's office in the amount of $50. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, those big bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, as you see, you know, in the resolution, various of our departments have petty cash funds with specific limits on them, from as little as $25 in the police department change fund up to $500 in the town clerk's change fund. $50 will help Janine to better administer and better serve the customers. Dan, you've got one of those accounts?
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. And so, you know, they have to, when folks come in to applying for exemptions and things, there's stacks of paperwork. They need a lot of copies. So they, it's 25 cents a page. They were making just change out of their own desks, just so that the seniors didn't have to walk down to my office where the money is and then go back. So I was talking to Janine. She's like, "Can we do that?" I'm like, "You just have to ask." And she asked. So it's really that simple, but really it'll save, our seniors from having to, extra, steps are good for people, but frankly, sometimes, it's a lot more difficult, so.
We're talking in the national media about government, not accountability, but efficiency.
Yeah.
And we didn't need to appoint 2 people to head a committee. We just had to have that conversation, and we saved people a walk down the hall.
No, it makes all the sense in the world. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bailey?
Aye. We now, as Nate alluded earlier, we do have a number of healthcare-related matters relating to medical, dental, and other insurance opportunities for our employees, but also for our retirees. And we, at our last meeting when we discussed the budget, while some of these items, the smaller ones, have stayed relatively flat, this is a place where we are seeing some very significant increases in cost. And it's a challenge for us. In many cases, our union contracts require coverages, but all of our employees. It is obviously, we provide health insurance to our employees, and then when the premiums go up, and they have particularly gone up for retirees over the age of 65, you're going to see that. You saw it in the budget. We'll be approving those things tonight. So, but we have several of them. I'll start with you, Nate, and we'll probably just go down back along the table. So go ahead.
You got it.
MVP Health.
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a renewal agreement with MVP Healthcare for employee health insurance plans for 2025 and set HSA contributions for 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
And again, this, affects most of our current employees, really the exception being our Teamster employees who have their own plan, and we'll be approving that later. But this is a big one. And unfortunately, we are looking at, despite being part of a health insurance consortium of a number of different communities that has continued to keep our costs below community rates, it's a 15% increase, 14.9% increase this year, and that's really a tough thing to handle.
Yeah.
But we have a motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bailey?
Aye. Before we go to the next one, I'll give you the opportunity to do it, Robin, but, because I saw you were all ready to go to the next one.
Ready.
But we have a representative here tonight from Waste Management, and I intended to get this one up quickly. With the board's consent, I want to move the last item up to the top of the list. This is a matter relating to awarding the bid for refuse and recycling in our refuse districts and to amend our town budget accordingly. So, Robin, I'll still turn to you for that one.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to award the bid for refuse district services and amend the 2025 town budget. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
The town of Brighton has close to half of the residential homes in town that are part of refuse districts. Refuse, as Councilmember Werner often says, refuse districts are a great example of how government saves people money by buying in bulk or serving in bulk. We work with the successful bidder, and we're going to recommend tonight that, we accept the bid from Waste Management. But because we do that, because we use these refuse districts, they stop at every door, and it means not only you got fewer trucks going down your street, but it means you have the efficiency of each truck stopping at every house. And as a result, you know, folks who don't live in refuse districts may be paying $500 or more for refuse hauling for the year. The good news is, under this proposal, and we received the bids, we're going to make a recommendation. It includes an administrative fee, but we're going to be recommending a bid for most of 2025 that will involve a district charge of only $288 per household per year. But again, but wait, there's more, because one of the reasons that number is essentially flat with last year is a change that we're making relating to recycling. We've heard over the years concerns that the blue boxes don't have a lid, and particularly in windy times like the winter, recycling blows all over the street. Under the proposal we're recommending, we will have an additional toter, a 96-gallon toter with a lid for recycling. Because that 96-gallon toter is a lot bigger than a blue box, we're going to continue its mixed source. It includes not only paper and metals, but glass, all combined. But because it's so much larger container than that blue box, the recycling pickup will be every other week. Once again, reducing the number of trucks that go down your street, reducing energy consumption, but continuing the recycling program that's so successful and keeping cost of it down. So in summary, that's what we are looking at. We've offered a variety of options in the bidding, but as we looked at the results, and you can see in more detail in the communication attached, we are recommending what is called option 3, which is based upon a 96-gallon toter for solid waste, 96 gallons for recycling. I will say that for the first 3 months of the year, we're going to continue the rates that we currently pay, because it's going to be until about April 1st that we're able to switch over to these new recycling toters. But that's the plan. We appreciate both Casella and Waste Management bidding, but it is our recommendation to accept this waste management bid. And Robin has made that motion. Nate has seconded it. Any further questions from the board?
I just wanted to clarify, I think the rate is even better than what you said. It's $277?
Yes, but there is, but
and
the
then
district charge.
And then the district charge is.
Exactly.
Yes,
With the
okay.
district charge will be, the administrative fees for the work of people like our staff, and kudos to Chad Roscoe in particular, who,
Yeah.
our junior engineer who led the effort to get this bid out. But yes, the bid is lower than that.
I'll just add, I got an early lesson in local government right after the election. My neighbors, David and Sharon, knocked on my door. They said, "Hey, congratulations. You know what? Every time it's windy, or the recycling blows all over the street, so you have to get a lid on the recycling." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much. I'll work on it." And so,
Good job, Nate.
we did it.
Yes, we did it.
And so I just want to say this is a great change. David and Sharon are going to be very happy, as well as I think lots of other people in Brighton. And it's, as mentioned before, the most affordable option. So whenever you get to make an upgrade in service and make an affordable maneuver, I think it's good government. So.
Absolutely.
And you don't only have to take your recycling to the curb.
That's right.
Every other week.
That's right.
I would note that we do have a representative of Waste Management here tonight if anybody does have technical questions of their operations. But if there are no further comments, we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado? Yep, see, I knew I was going to do it at some point tonight.
You tried to get me, but I didn't take the bait.
I knew it was coming. Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. And again, thank you. We look forward to continuing to work with Waste Management on these refuse districts. All right, now we will go back to the various health-related. And Robin, I will
Great.
go back to you again as well for the Excellus Dental.
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into a renewal agreement with Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield for the provision of employee dental benefits for 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
In these plans, employees have the opportunity, non-represented employees at least, certainly, to choose to pay for these plans. Again, cost savings, and there's only a very, very small increase in the administrative fee charged by Excellus to administer these plans. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to authorize the supervisor to execute a renewal agreement with IMED for the provision of employee vision and eyewear benefits for the year 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second?
Vision care, and again, one of the opportunities that employees have to participate in this vision care plan, and doing so in a collective way keeps the cost in check. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye.
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Excellus for the Medicare insurance plan effective February 1, 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is a tougher one. This is the one that we talked about, the significant magnitude of the increased expense for post-65 retirees. We have some different opportunities here. We're going to be going in some different directions, both for our union represented employees as well as for our non-represented employees. We're leaving Aetna and we're going to Excellus. But at even doing that, there will be some significant cost increases involved. Earl, I don't know if you want to say anything more, or?
I think I'll just add that there were federal law changes that drove these changes to the plans, and that they are stronger plans, and that the out-of-pocket maximum for retirees was decreased from $8,000 to $2,000. So they're, it's a completely different plan, and difficult for the insurance companies to price the new plans with that change and other changes.
Thank you. Any further discussion on those? Robin, I know you made the motion. Who seconded that? Nate?
I think I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
If there's no further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Nate?
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a renewal agreement with Lifetime Benefit Solutions, Inc. for the administration of employee flexible spending accounts for 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
These are for flexible spending accounts, which we are actually using and seeing fewer and fewer of, because more and more of our employees are using high deductible health insurance policies, and you cannot have a flexible spending account. Instead, you have a health savings account with a high deductible plan. So only the people remaining on traditional copay plans are eligible for flexible spending, but as long as we have them, we will need someone to administer those plans, and that's what we're doing here. No increase in cost either for the one-time annual service fee or the per participant monthly fee. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Nate, why don't you do the next one again?
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a renewal agreement for the Teamsters health plans for 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
As I mentioned a moment ago, our employees who are represented by the Teamsters, several of our parks and sewer foremen, under the terms of our collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters, are covered by a Teamsters managed plan. So this will simply authorize the renewal of the Teamsters health plan for those Teamster represented employees. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin.
The next matter seeks to authorize an updated dental insurance dependent rider with Excelis for 2025 to cover all dependents to the age of 23, regardless of student status. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And Councilmember Salzman referred to this earlier in his committee report. Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And Chris?
Next item is to authorize an updated health declination policy for non-represented employees. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second?
And this was as discussed by Councilmember Salzman.
Right, eliminating the requirement that we have at least 10 employees decline health insurance coverage because they have access to coverage from a spouse or partner. We've eliminated that requirement that there be at least 10. We want to make sure that our employees have, the right incentives to do that. So, further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin, the next matter.
Certainly, the next matter seeks to approve the state environmental quality review negative declaration for the town hall renovation project. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And I'm going to let attorney to the town, John Mancuso, talk about this a little bit.
Thank you, Supervisor. So as the board may recall, earlier this summer, the board adopted a resolution prior to our approval of the bond financing for the town hall renovation based on the review and recommendation of the town's environmental liaison officer. He determined that the renovation project was a type 2 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And what that means is that the renovation of this facility meets one or more sections of seeker that would allow it to be exempt from review. The project, as you know, plans are updated, review is ongoing, and based on further evaluation of the project and discussion that was had internally, we continue to revisit whether or not any further seeker review is necessary. We've determined in consultation with Rick DiStefano that it was still a type 2 action under seeker, but nevertheless that undertaking a review and making a determination of significance would allow the town board to essentially go above and beyond the mandates of seeker. And so at Rick's recommendation, we have prepared a resolution tonight that simply reflects his analysis and then also provides for findings of this board based on his recommendation to issue a negative declaration that the renovation to the town hall facility will not have a significant adverse environmental impact.
Great. Thank you, John. And thank you to everybody. I know, Rick, you were all involved in, reaching this conclusion, and I think it's a good one. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Okay. Now we are going to consider several resolutions that relate to the town hall project. We've had a lot of discussion about the town hall project and the fact that this is the last town board meeting we're going to have in this room for a while. We've begun the move. We will be completing the move at the end of this week, over the weekend. And our future location, as we've continued to say, is going to be at 680 Westfall Road in the town of Brighton at SUNY Empire State University. Under the WICS Act, municipal projects such as this one must be bid out with multiple contractors. We began that work with a clerk of the works contract, which was previously approved, along with a construction inspection contract. Now we're going to get into the series of the actual construction contracts themselves, starting with the demolition and asbestos abatement, which is a major part of this project. So again, we'll just go down the row. Nate, I'll start with you.
Yep. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with DSA Services Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $585,000 for demolition and abatement services related to the town hall renovation project, and to execute any change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the total price. I move that we adopt this resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
As you see, there were 3 bids, quite a bit of variance among them, and DSA Service was the low bidder. Further discussion? Anything you need to add, or?
That's just going to be the first contract that
Yep.
we're going to exercise
Yep.
as the first work to be done.
Yes, sir. All right. If there's nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Robin, the next
Certainly,
resolution.
the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Concord Electric Corporation in an amount not to exceed $2,609,000 for electrical services related to the town hall renovation project, and to execute any change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the total price. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is for the electrical work on the project. We received 2 bids, 2 responsive bids. Again, Concord Electric was the low bid by a fairly significant margin. And as we routinely do, we authorize change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% without further town board action. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. As we're going through these, I just thought it would make sense to just talk briefly about, because these are some significant numbers.
No, actually, I was going to tell you that the reason why that is a little higher than you would expect for electrical work is there's a large component of solar panels on the roofing, which is included in that number.
Yes.
That's
One of the many ways that we are working to make this building more sustainable. That's a big, big deal. I get asked about that a lot, and we've talked about the solar work and other work that we've done on other buildings, but this is one part of why this building project is really so groundbreaking in terms of a sustainable building. The overall project, and we're going to go through these 3 additional contracts tonight, but we will be and have already been funding it in part from money under the ARPA COVID relief program. We have state grant money. That's a federal program. We have state grant money thanks to Senator Cooney. And we will be borrowing to cover the remainder. We issued that bond resolution. We'll be issuing during the construction project what are called bond anticipation notes to pay for the work as it's done. Those are short-term borrowings, and those will be converted as the project is completed into longer-term debt. So the next one of those contracts, Chris, Pipitone, HVAC.
Yes. Bill, next item is to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Pipitone Enterprises, LLC, INC?
No, it's, right.
It's one or the
I
other.
believe it's an LLC.
Yeah, Pipitone Electric in an amount not to exceed $2,580,000 for the mechanical HVAC services related to the town hall renovation project, and to execute any change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the total price. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this again, this is a big one. Ken, tell us why.
This one has components for geothermal wells for heating and cooling the building.
This is really the driver. This is why we're doing this work. If you feel a little cold in the room tonight, you're not alone. If we were in July, you would have felt the heat. Thanks to this geothermal system, we will have a much more environmentally sustainable and up-to-date and actually working system in this 71-year-old building. We're going to take advantage of that work and do some of the other building improvements. But when you get right down to it, the reason we're doing this project is to upgrade our HVAC system. And we got 5 bids. They were very close in price, so that's always a good sign. We have a motion seconded. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Chris, why don't you do one more?
Again, this is to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Landry Mechanical Contractors, INC, in an amount not to exceed $396,482 for plumbing services related to the town hall renovation project, and to execute any change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the total price. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second?
Again, pretty straightforward. It's plumbing. It's a much lower cost, much smaller part of the project. Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. And since we're going through all of these with everybody's consent, I'm going to propose that we move up the final contract here for the general contractor on this project, proposed to be with Milestone Construction Partners. Robin, if you would do the next one.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Milestone Construction Partners in an amount not to exceed $3,890,000 for general construction services related to the town hall renovation project, and to execute any change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the total price. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We had 3 bidders on this. We actually had 4. 1 withdrew. But we have 3 bidders that we're considering. 2 were very close. Ken, again, if you can just talk about what is incorporated within.
The general contractor is going to do meat and potatoes of the construction, any wall changes, installation of windows, all the trim, the woodwork, the doors, carpeting, floor, ceilings. So they're doing the main part of the construction that's more of the building type stuff, not the mechanical, electrical kind of components.
Good. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We'll go back then now to setting a public hearing for the local law. Nate, I'll
Yeah.
give you that one.
The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for a local law to conform with the new statewide real property tax law exemption, RPTL 466-A, for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We currently have exemptions for those workers, but under state law, the provisions have changed. The section references have changed. So it's incumbent upon us to adopt this new local law. And I believe we have to do it, is it by December 1st or January 1st? We got to do it.
It's
Promptly.
it's December, I believe it's the second week of December. So we will have it, and if we have the public hearing in November, we will be in good shape to have it filed before then.
Good. So Nate made that motion to set the public hearing for November 23rd. Did someone second that?
Yes.
Chris seconded, is it at our town board meeting? Is that?
26.
26th, should be
Uh-oh,
November 26th.
26th, good catch, thank you.
Yeah,
26th.
yeah,
Yes, right, 26th.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that is actually the way the resolution itself reads, so I don't believe we need to do a friendly amendment to it, but, no, actually, we should.
Yeah, it
yes.
should be amended.
We should,
Yeah.
so,
Amend that.
so Nate,
November
would you
26th.
accept that as a friendly?
Yes.
And my
Chris,
second.
yes.
Agreed, yes.
Okay, good. Discussion, we'll obviously discuss this at greater length at the public hearing at our next meeting. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks the consent to the installation of certain traffic control devices on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road associated with the Monroe County Department of Transportation's rehabilitation of South Winton Road and Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, and authorizes town clerk to sign Monroe County traffic control device establishment forms. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is in connection, as the motion indicated, with the county work that the county did, in this case particularly on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, because they incorporated a pavement diet into that project. They are installing bike lane signs, no standing signs, and other signs. And this action by the town board will consent to those signs being installed. The town board in Henrietta, of course, the other side of Town Line Road is in Henrietta, and they will be doing the same. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Okay, that's all of our new business. Thank you, everybody, for going through that pretty long agenda. As I mentioned earlier, Friday is the actual town hall moving day. Thank you to everybody. Some of you are sitting at the table who have worked long and hard to make this fall into place. Ken, in particular, has done an awful lot of work. Earl helped make sure we had the money in line. Our Chief of Staff, Sarah Krusenjarner, is in the audience, and you've played a big role in this project since coming on board. So Town Hall will be closed tomorrow. We're going to be working. Those of us that haven't moved yet are going to be continuing and hopefully completing the packing process because we will be moving on Friday. So Thursday and Friday, Town Hall will be closed. I want to remind everybody, during this project, although this part of the building is moving and will be moving for as long as 18 months, the police department and the courts and the Brighton Memorial Library will stay in their current locations. Construction will not affect them. But this will give us the opportunity, as we've discussed, to incorporate all of those contracts tonight and replace our antiquated HVAC system that, as you can tell, really doesn't work very well with this new sustainable, cost-effective geothermal system. Every year we hold East and West Brighton community forums. We had our East Brighton Forum in October. On November 21st, we will be holding our West Brighton Community Forum at the Rustic Village Entertainment Room at 7 p.m. All West Brighton residents are invited. We will be there. Many of our senior staff will be there, giving West Brighton residents an opportunity to talk with us, ask questions, and get updates on various town projects. Two in particular. One, just as she did in East Brighton, our Assistant Assessor Janine Whitaker will give a presentation about the upcoming townwide property reassessment in the town of Brighton, which will be going on in 2025, and will first be effective for your school tax bills next fall for the 2025-2026 year. In addition, we will have a presentation on the Multiversity Trail, which does affect and enhance West Brighton. Our consultant will be there to talk about that project. Matters of the attorney to the town.
Thank you, Supervisor. Nothing new to report, but I would request an executive session for 5 matters leading to the appointment of particular persons.
Thank you. Matters of the town clerk.
One thing, in particular note to the resident who spoke earlier at the podium regarding Elmwood. I think, I don't remember, is it Kathleen? Sorry, I'm forgetting your name. No, I said, so particular importance to you. So I pulled up the CIP during the meeting. They actually do have Elmwood on there between Winton and Clover. I don't know exactly, but the funding is slated to be spent in '26. So I don't know if that means typically that's when it would happen, but.
Or if that's when they do the design.
That might be design.
So, but
Yeah.
at least so they are looking at it. It looks like it's on there. It's on here for a section of Highland as well as Elmwood. So
Well, then we ought to,
that's coming.
yeah, and we certainly want to play a role, and we want our residents to play a role in the design. We've had good success working with the county in the past. Many years ago, for example, there were discussions about whether Winton Road should be widened, and the town really went to bat. We heard from residents.
We're not always successful.
Not always successful.
We could have had Elmwood sidewalks, and we don't.
Right, yeah. But I think we've had some good success, and of course, we've now got a new administration, an administration that has worked with us, has listened to us, has implemented this really precedent-setting sidewalk grant program. No other county administration has ever considered such a thing. And I'm hopeful that the state might think about it as an alternative, again, to make sure we're focusing our infrastructure financing on active transportation and not just motor vehicles. So in any event, but good, thanks for doing that, Dan, I appreciate that.
But otherwise, I don't, tax collection is over as of Monday. So we stopped collecting my office on Halloween, but any remaining outstanding payments can be made directly to Monroe County Treasury, again, through Monday, but it will stop then.
Good, thank you. Matters of the board. Hearing none then, thank you to our interpreters tonight. We always appreciate the work that you do. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people?
Bill, I move that we go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bailey?
Aye. I do not anticipate that we will be coming back into public session after the executive session. Just a couple of reminders on changes for our next meeting. Our next meeting will be Tuesday night, November 26th at 7 p.m. The 26th because of the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. And of course, that and all of our future meetings, including meetings like Planning Board, Zoning Board, will be held at Empire State University in the meeting room on the first floor. If you walk in that main entrance, go straight through. If you've ever voted there, it's in that room. 680 West Fall Road. Tuesday, November 26th at 7 p.m. We hope you can all make it. Till then, have a great evening.